Meghan Markle is reportedly developing a clothing line inspired by Princess Diana. Not a tribute, not a charity capsule. A full commercial fashion range based on the most iconic looks of her dead mother-in-law, the same woman whose family she has spent 6 years publicly attacking. But that is not even the most audacious part of this story, because while Meghan is raiding Diana's wardrobe for profit, both of the sausages Australian events are now in free fall, and a ticketing glitch just exposed the receipts. Today we're covering Meghan's Diana fashion grab, the $100,000 ticket glitch at her Sydney retreat, Harry's Melbourne conference slashing prices by more than half, a brand new royal book that reveals the Queen told Harry all in or all out, and Meghan's 12 secret Australian trademarks, and the Soho House connection that ties it all together. Let's get down to it. Welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. So let's start with the headline that dropped today, because this one is something else. According to a Rated Online exclusive, Meghan is planning to launch a clothing line directly inspired by Princess Diana's most iconic off-duty looks. We're talking about the white shirt and denim combination, the relaxed elegance, the pieces that make Diana a global fashion icon in the 80s and 90s. Now, fashion sources are telling readers that Meghan, and I'm quoting here, understands how powerful Diana's image still is and how it is instantly recognizable but also accessible, which makes it commercially viable. Commercially viable. That is how Team Sausages describes the legacy of a woman who died in a car crash in Paris. Commercially viable. And here's what makes this so breathtaking. This is the same Meghan who, according to multiple books and insiders, refused every invitation to visit Balmoral during the Queen's lifetime. The same Meghan who dragged the royal family through an Oprah interview watched by 50 million people. The same Meghan whose husband wrote an entire book trashing his father, his brother, and the institution Diana dedicated her life to. And now she wants to monetize Diana's wardrobe? Let me be very clear about something. Catherine has worn Diana-inspired looks. She wore a similar white shirt and jeans combination during the 2011 Canada tour. But Catherine earned that connection. She married into the family. She stayed. She served, she fought cancer, and she showed up. Meghan left. And now she wants to sell what she walked away from. An insider told readers that the denim-based outfit carries a kind of quiet symbolism. It signals relatability, warmth, and a break from overly formal royal dressing. You know what else signals a break from formal royal dressing? Actually breaking from the royal family, moving to Montecito, and then using the family's most beloved member as a marketing strategy. That is not quiet symbolism. That is more like loud opportunism. And let's think about the timing here. This report drops while Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, is struggling domestically. While Netflix has pulled out and while her cooking show got canned. So what do you do when your own brand identity is not landing? You borrow someone else's. And not just anyone, but you borrow from the most universally loved woman in British royal history. A woman who cannot object. A woman who cannot say no. A woman whose son you married and whose family you left. The calculation is ice cold, and the word on the street is that even longtime Meghan supporters are calling this one tone deaf. But if Meghan's Diana grab is the Audacity Award of the week, what is happening with her Australian retreat is the Incompetence Award. Because remember how we told you the Her Best Life retreat was struggling to fill 300 seats? Well, an internet sleuth just found a glitch in the ticketing system that blew the whole thing wide open. According to journalist Paula Frelich, a prospective attendee was able to load 5 VIP tickets into her cart. That is nearly 16,000 Australian dollars and then kept going. She loaded 24 more tickets, bringing the total to almost 93,000 Australian dollars before the system finally said she had hit her limit. So let me translate that for you. If one person can load nearly $100,000 worth of tickets into a shopping cart, your event is not sold out. Your event is not even close to sold out. Your event is a conference room with blue LED lights and a prayer. And this is the same ticketing system that had a ticket allocation exhausted banner on the website. A banner that, as Radar reported earlier this week, has now been quietly removed. The organizer, Gemma O'Neill, posted on Instagram that the hotel kindly released a handful of additional rooms, including solo options. But you don't release additional rooms for a sold-out event. You release additional rooms when people are canceling faster than you can spin it. Now, to be fair, the math suggests that maybe around 270 of the 300 spots have been accounted for. But accounted for and paid for are very different things. And when your VIP package costs over $2,200 for the privilege of a group photo with a Meghan and a twin-share room with a stranger, those last 30 seats might as well be on the moon. So this is also the same glitch pattern we saw back in January with the As Ever brand when inventory numbers got accidentally exposed. The internet has noticed that Meghan's digital operations have a recurring problem. Every time the team tries to create artificial scarcity, the technology betrays them. At some point, you have to wonder if the universe itself is fact-checking the Duchess of Sausages. Now, speaking of Australia, because the disaster is bilateral, Harry's event is in trouble too. His keynote at the Inter-Age Summit in Melbourne was originally priced at nearly $2,400 for platinum and about $2,000 for gold. Those were the only options. Want to hear the Duke of Sussex talk about workplace mental health? Open your wallet. But this week, the conference quietly added 2 new tickets categories. A delegate option at $997 and a virtual option at $498. That delegate price is more than 50% cheaper than the gold tier. When you slash your prices in half a week before the event, you are not expanding access. You are panicking. And remember, this is the same Harry who reportedly hoped to command $1 million per speaking engagement when he first arrived in America. $1 million. His actual fee for his recent appearance at the IAPP Privacy Summit in Washington was $50,000. That is a 95% pay cut from the original ambition. And now even at $2,000 a head, they cannot fill a conference hall in Melbourne. Both sausages, both events, both in Australia, both struggling. Oh, that symmetry is almost poetic. But now, while Team Sausages is busy not selling tickets down under, a brand new book just dropped some revelations that go straight to the heart of how the Harkles ended up in this mess. Hugo Vickers, a longtime friend of the royal family and one of the most respected royal historians alive, has published a new biography called Queen Elizabeth II. And what he reveals is devastating. First, the ultimatum. When Harry and Meghan fled to Canada in late 2019, Harry wanted what he called a half-in, half-out arrangement. He wanted to finance himself, but still work for the royal family. And 3 private secretaries, Sir Edward Young, Sir Clive Alderton, and Simon Case, drafted proposals at Sandringham, and the answer came back crystal clear. It was either all in or all out. So Harry returned to Canada, and here's the key phrase from Vickers: reluctantly out. Reluctantly. Not triumphantly, not defiantly. Reluctantly. which tells you that the narrative Harry sold in Spare, the brave prince who chose freedom, does not match even sympathetic historical accounts. But Vickers goes further. He reveals that Meghan banned cars from the sports ground near Frogmore Cottage because she could see them from her windows. Well, this was a space that had been used by royals from Prince Philip to young Prince George for cricket. Meghan saw cars from her window and shut it down. He also claims the Queen personally told Meghan off for being rude to the Windsor gardeners, the staff who maintained the grounds she was living on rent-free. And perhaps most tellingly, Vickers says that every single speech Harry made during their 2018 Australia tour was vetted by Meghan. Every one. The man who was supposed to be the seasoned royal had his homework checked by the woman who had been in the family for less than 6 months. So, by 2019, Vickers writes, Harry appeared uneasy and the rapport between them looked nil. He describes Harry as a man who had bitten off more than he could chew. And you know what? Looking at what is happening in Australia right now, to failing events, desperate price cuts, and a ticketing system that exposes their own numbers, it looks like he is still chewing. And finally, let's talk about what might be the most revealing move of the week. And this one ties everything together. It turns out Meghan has not just filed one trademark in Australia. According to the Daily Mail, she has discreetly locked in 12 Australian trademarks for as ever, covering skincare, candles, gardening, clothing, event planning, jewelry, and home decor. 12! This is not a casual brand extension. This is a full-scale innovation. And here's where it gets really interesting. The retreat organizer, Gemma O'Neill, sits on the advisory committee for Soho House Sydney, which is opening its first Australian location this year. And who helped facilitate Meghan's entire Australia visit? Allegedly, Marcus Anderson, the Soho House senior executive, the man who set up Harry and Meghan's first date at Soho House, London, back in 2016. Oh, that's interesting. As some commentators have pointed out, this retreat is starting to look less like women's empowerment and more like a Soho House promotional event wearing a wellness costume. A PR expert from Pressbox, Kaylee Cornelius, said expanding overseas feels less like a choice and more like a necessity to avoid the brand stagnating. Netflix pulled out as an investor. The US market is not delivering. Netflix staffers were reportedly giving away as ever products to employees because the storage closets were overflowing. And now Meghan's answer is not to fix the product or listen to feedback. Remember, this is the woman who turns off her camera on Zoom when she hears something she does not like. Her answer is to take the same struggling brand to a new country and hope for a different result. Cornelius called it a make-or-break moment, and an as-ever spokesperson responded by saying no decisions have been made about when or where international expansion might take place, which is fascinating because you do not file 12 trademarks in a country you have no plans to expand into. That is like furnishing an apartment and then saying you have not decided whether to move in. So, the Diana clothing line, $100,000 in exposed unsold tickets, a Melbourne conference slashing prices in desperation, a royal historian confirming that Harry was reluctantly pushed out while Meghan vetted his every word, and 12 trademarks filed in a country where both their events are tanking. My rogue is there's a pattern here, and it has been the same pattern for 6 years. Big promises, mediocre execution, and when the numbers do not add up, change the market, change the narrative, or rate someone else's legacy. Diana deserves better. Australia deserves better. And frankly, on this point, even Harry deserves better. What do you think? Is the Diana clothing line a step too far? Or do you think either of these Australian events is going to go smoothly? Let me know in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Much love and bliss.